I want to go back to something in the introduction, leveraging technologies from other industries into automotive. That's what's enabling me, but I don't talk about that because nobody cares about that. And we'll get into that as I describe what you're doing with an elevator pitch. Nobody cares I worked for NASA, built missile seekers for defense, helped a missile hit a missile. Nobody cares about that because it doesn't put money in their pocket. So as we go through this, I want you to think about your own elevator pitches, what your project is that you're going to create or you may already be working on. And as I go through it, I want you to think about what you should not say. It's actually more important than what you should say, because what you should say, there's not much there. It's very brief. I've been in Huntsville since 1991. I actually started at UAH in '88. It took a long time to get my degree. I drove a forklift at a marina in Guntersville and commuted and took 1 or 2 classes at a time. Ended up settling down here because I married a local girl. She also went to UAH. Academically trained as an optical physicist. It's hard to get work as a physicist, at least it was in the mid-90s. So I got work as an engineer, so I've been playing one on TV for a while. My wife is a survivor. No, she has not had cancer. This is my 3rd startup. What your spouse thinks of what you're doing is where I wanted to start. It's important for me to stay married. I'm not doing it again. It's too much work. So when I say she's a survivor, my first startup, I got into it about 2 years out of school, and I was a project manager. And I took that job thinking, this is absolutely wonderful. I just got out of school. It was drinking from the fire hose. It was more than I could take on. Learned a lot. But when the board members, the investors, started calling my desk and asking me where the president is, I found out what I got into. So you're not a startup anymore if you've been in business 8 years and you haven't had an exit. So remember, a startup means you're burning both ends of the candle. It's a compressed schedule, and there's an exit event in your plan. We're going to license the technology. We're going to sell the company. Or worst case, we have to liquidate whatever assets we have. We don't talk about that because that's negative. So again, my wife is a survivor. She's my biggest fan, my biggest critic, and most importantly, the primary stakeholder in my business. Right? I've got twins, a boy and a girl. They're 12 now. Boy fancies himself to become a nuclear fusion lens maker. So I have messed up and told him a little bit too much about physics and optics. Sister will be an artist. I mentioned that to say both of them have very high goals, but you need artists and engineers. You need left brain, right brain to come together to do anything significant. That's one of the things that we've got a recent organization that started, and that's one of our belly buttons. That's one of our topics that we always bring up. So with an elevator pitch, okay. Well, what I want to do today is take you through the journey from me starting off in the 2012 elevator pitch contest at BizTech, and how I said all the wrong things and ran out of time, failed miserably. I came back in 2013, about 14 months later, and I won first place. So it's been a learning experience. It's been a journey. It's social engineering, but not the definition that everyone is familiar with. It's an engineer finally becoming social, right? I'm selling me. If I'm doing an elevator pitch, I'm selling me first. I happen to have an interesting product that will hopefully make me and the investor some money. But primarily I'm selling me, so I've got to get comfortable with me, I've got to be confident, I've got to be able to speak. So when you do an elevator pitch, there are mixed guidance on how long it should be. I think a general rule is a minute. If you can get it under 45 seconds, you're even better. So I'll borrow a quote from Shakespeare: "Brevity is the soul of wit." That's from Hamlet. I think the Southern version of that would be, "Come on out with it, I don't have time." Or the latest slang version, "Ain't nobody got time for that." Okay, so I want to make the point, you have a limited time with your audience. Say what you need to say and nothing else. Preparation. How am I going to say everything I need to say in 4 or 5 sentences in under 45 seconds? It's a lot more difficult than you think. You're not reading off your card until you call time. That's not how you get there. It takes even more preparation the shorter you make it. Mark Twain said, "I didn't have time to write a short letter, so I wrote a long one instead." Brilliant author, brilliant comic. I'd probably say he's a comic above all. But he makes a very, very good point. It takes more effort to be brief. You have to know your stuff. You have to be confident with it. You have to know what not to say. Just get it done. You only have them for a moment. Who is your audience? When you're doing the elevator pitch, when you're preparing your elevator pitch, you will likely have 2 or 3 flavors of the pitch. And it's based on who are you pitching to, right? I'm going to say something different to a customer than I would an investor. A third flavor would be if I'm trying to get someone to collaborate with me, a colleague I've worked with in the past, if I want to get them on board, or if I'm trying to get a new employee. Some of the core content will be there, but you'll flavor it just a little bit different. If you are very, very crafty, your elevator pitch will cover all 3. There, again, it gets down to preparation. And what is your goal? Your goal is to generate interest in what you're talking about, and they have to come back for more. Investors bring money, employees come on board, collaborators do joint ventures. So everybody wants a piece of the action because it sounds like something we should get into. I want to stress that people have an aversion. Doesn't matter what your audience is. Your audience has an aversion to being sold. Can't come across with the hard sell. This elevator pitch is not a hard sell. It's, I'm confident in the idea, I'm putting it forward to you. It'd be great if you joined. It's that simple. During your elevator pitch, and especially in the conversations that ensue following the pitch, it is very critical that you are not perceived as creating your own job. And I say that now because it's even more important in recent history, especially in Huntsville. If you are a defense contractor, which I still work as one 4 days a week, and you are aware of how volatile that industry is, and you're worried about your funding going away, or your program being canceled, that's all well and good. Well, it's not so good, but it's understood. Everybody is aware of what's going on. But you cannot be perceived as creating a company so that you will have a job and live off the investor's money. All right, so it gets back to what are you saying in the pitch? Selling me, selling what I'm working on, giving you an opportunity to join in some fashion. I'm not creating my own job. My own mentors have strongly urged that I keep my day job until the last moment that I just can't do both. Or I've gotten the investor dollars to go full time in my own, in the startup. There again, it's managing perception. If you're unemployed and you are doing your investor pitch, you might not want to mention that. It doesn't really have a bearing in the pitch itself. There's no reason for that to be in there. Again, you're selling you what you're doing, giving people an opportunity. You're not creating a job for yourself. So how do we start with authoring this now that we kind of have a format? We know it's got to be short. We know how to handle our audience. We know we've got to be confident. We know a few things not to say. Well, if you're creating a product, bringing it to the marketplace, you start with what's the problem or what is the pain point, right? And it needs to be a personal experience. You won't get a chance to say that in your elevator pitch. But when you do your pitch to investors, your first slide is your name, company, date. Next slide is pain point. What is the pain point? And why was it personal to me? And what am I going to do about it with your dollars, with your help? Necessity is the mother of invention. We don't invent things. Well, successful inventions, most of them are not made just to make money or create jobs. They're made to solve a problem. That's why they become successful. People immediately grasp, this solves a problem for me also. I'm going to pay for that. Or I want to go to work for the company. Take Apple, for instance. Who wouldn't want to work for Apple? Right? So you start with your pain point. You make it personal. This is more later, but for the elevator pitch itself, you need to sum up the pain point and what you're doing about it in 1 or 2 sentences. Again, you've got 30 to 45 seconds to really do this well. And in the elevator pitch, you need to capture the who, the what, where, why, and how. Tall order. But keep in mind, you can answer some of those 2 or 3 in 1 sentence. Again, it gets back to preparation and how craftily that you author this thing. So I guess at this point, I would like to do my elevator pitch. I'm not going to do the one from 2012. I'll do the one that I successfully used to land the first place at the BizTech. Is everybody familiar with BizTech? It's the high-tech business incubator here. It's in a former UAH building right across the street, 515 Sparkman Drive. They're an incubator. We're trying to drag them into the idea of being an accelerator, so there's a lot going on in that activity. But BizTech hosts a few annual events. This is one of them. And they offer training in advance of the contest so that you can get up and you can practice it. Even backing up from that, you can get guidance from Gary Taus, the president of BizTech, and actually write it out in a format that they prescribe. They'll give you a template. So you can go to a training course in advance in preparation, and then you get the chance to do it in front of your peers. Everybody takes a turn, and he's got a timer on a big projector. And you're not, it's behind you, so you're not looking at it, and you shouldn't look at it because it will mess you up. But it's surprising how many people hear the buzzer and they're still talking. So again, brevity is the soul of wit. The smarter you can put that together in the shortest amount of time, the better off you are. So my pitch, hi, I'm Jeff Hammock. I'm with MECHoptix. We make mechanical and optical products for the automotive aftermarket. Our first product is the auto stop lamp. Auto having 2 meanings. It's a brake light for automobiles, but it automatically illuminates when the vehicle slows down. You need this for downshifting, if there's a collision, basically anything that will suddenly slow down the car but you did not apply the brakes, this light will come on anyway. We're looking for first round investors now. If you're interested, please give me a call. Again, my name is Jeff Hammock with MECHoptix, protecting your vehicle, your precious cargo, and you. So did anybody notice anything at the end? What was the last phrase? Protecting your vehicle, your precious cargo, and you.
Make it personal.
It does make it personal. It makes you think about what we are doing. It's a safety product. So you're thinking safety. My vehicle,
I think
my cargo,
we're early. Yeah. Right.
and me, right? The passengers. That covers a lot. That was carefully selected because people are keeping their vehicles longer now. Polk, the latest Polk study said 11 years. It's over 11 years is how long people are keeping their vehicles. I'd like to protect that. I'm not getting anything new, right? Probably has a lot to do with the economy. Protecting your cargo. Well, there's stuff in my vehicle when I'm traveling I also need to protect. It may be irreplaceable. You know, if I'm a DJ and I've got equipment, chances are I'm not going to be able to replace that if I'm in a wreck. That stuff's pretty expensive. And the passengers. Always end on the most important one, the last thing they hear, and you. That's personal. I just said you. A tagline is an important part of your elevator pitch. It's an important part of your media, your social media, your business card, basically everything where you are listing your company name and what you do, you need to finish off with the tagline. That sums up all that you're doing. If you can phrase it such, you need to identify what the benefit is to the customer. This is back in the tagline. Identify what the benefit is to the customer and try to slip in a call to action. Right? The last thing that you do when you correspond with somebody or when you speak with somebody in person is give them a call to action. Right? That's just a great business practice. If I'm corresponding with you and we're collaborating on a project, the last thing I'll ask is, can we schedule this meeting for the same time next week? Or can you provide that report on the 12th? There's always a call to action. The call to action can and probably should be subtle in your tagline. You're really planting a seed, protecting your vehicle, your precious cargo, and you. The call to action's very subtle there, but you're starting to think about safety. Do I need to be safer in my vehicle? Is this something I need? So the call to action is really just getting the wheels turning in my case. I want to briefly touch on intellectual property. One thing you don't want to do in your elevator pitch or any conversations that ensue or that are subsequent to the pitch is give away the how you're doing it. Right? You can share with people what you would put on a brochure, what you would put on a website, but never tell them exactly how you're going to do it unless you've already filed your patent. And even then, you got to be careful, right? It gets down to prosecution. If I tell GE exactly how I'm doing this, they can go off and make it faster than me. And then it's up to me to prosecute my own patent, which as an inventor, I don't have the money or the time. So I would caution everybody to not give away the how in your pitch or any conversations. Even when you're trying to get people to come to your company, probably want to secure a non-disclosure agreement before you get into entertaining people to help you, before you start soliciting people to help you. So give nothing away in the pitch. One of the questions that will follow immediately after you finish your pitch is, have you filed a patent? That's the question from the investor. The customers don't care. But if you're talking to an investor, that's one of the first things they're going to ask. Have you filed a patent? To remind everyone, in order to file a patent, it has to be new, novel, and non-obvious. We're back to the preparation piece. I need to know what the prior art is in that industry, in that market, that my product is entering. So in my case, for the auto stop lamp, the first product, it's a brake light. I need to know all about brake lights. I need to know every flavor of a deceleration-based indicator lamp that's ever been filed for a patent application. And I need to know where I stand. And really, before I'm pitching, before I'm doing this elevator pitch, I better know that I'm novel and new, and I have a product to patent, especially if I'm going after investor money. Now, the guidance on intellectual property is if you're going to ask for investor dollars, and it's a technical product, they're going to expect a patent. It's something that they can liquidate if things go south. It's an asset of the company. So it's a selling point as an investor if you have the patent to file that and mention that. Not in the pitch, but in the conversations that follow. Is everyone familiar with what a non-disclosure agreement is?
I'm sorry. We have messed up. We have scheduled you in a room that somebody else scheduled for. Do you mind if we just move down to another room? I'm so sorry.
There'll be a nursing test in the other room, so
Well-
we'll check into it after.
Go to 109. Let me try 109.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
To this point, though, good start.
Only had like 5 more minutes. I can't start with brevity and then take an hour. All right. Practice what you preach. Well, I could actually finish.
109? Sorry.